So for our next little segment here today, we are moving from more of the bigger picture and we are going into this organizational perspective. What's going on within organizations that we can learn from today? And particularly we are looking at creating, how do we go about creating an inclusive organization? And we're going to look at how technology can facilitate this, how product design and talent management itself can really rapidly accelerate this. So I've invited other three amazing ladies with us today. And the first speaker here is Hajar Haddaoui. I hope I got your name correctly here. Senior Director of Switzerland and NTT, which is a Japanese company. And Hajar has been working in the IT industry for more than 18 years. Particularly, she has the privilege to work in Europe, Canada, and Middle East. She's also been granted the Business Leader Award for Best All-Round Female in IT in Europe. So that's really amazing. She sits on several boards and has an MBA from IMD and a law background. So we look forward to hearing from her. I'd also like to introduce here today Delphine Donne, who is the Vice President and General Manager of Logitech Personal Workspace Solutions here in Switzerland. And she is a people-first leader with more than 25 years experience in consumer electronics. She has also lived in numerous countries, both in Europe, in China, US, and has transformed many global businesses, leading innovations and forming cross-functional global teams. And passionate also about gender journeys. As a mother, she takes also responsibility as a role model seriously. She's also very passionate about the ESGs and the SDGs, and I'm very proud to say that her organization is also become entirely carbon neutral with 2 in 3 products using PCR plastics only. And then we have, last but not least, Mirna Zerekli, who is head of global talent management at the newly listed Iveco group. So prior to joining that company, she has worked largely at Shell and in a number of countries, also at Alstom and Donne. And she's also worked as a consultant in Kennedy Fitch for a couple of years. She is always had a passion for unleashing potential, especially in women and girls, passing forward support and mentorship that she herself has been giving. So I'm very excited to hear from our selected amazing women here today. I'd like to start by asking Hajar, and please, if you want to add something about yourself, also please feel free to do so. But when we imagine an inclusive organization, what that would look like and feel like, and I want to know, how is it that technology can change the way we live and work and to accelerate such a process?
First, thanks, Kristin, for inviting me here, and hi everyone. It's always a pleasure to share and care in the WIN conferences, and I'm happy again to be here. So I think for me, it's to be a part of the future or to drive inclusive future. It's important, has been said by the previous speakers. For me, leadership is key, because we can have the right strategy for diversity, equity, and inclusion. We can have the initiatives that drives those strategy and mission. However, to drive it inside out and top down, we need the right leaders. And the inclusive leaders role model, which is key for any organization. I have experienced this in my previous company, in this company. So I think it's crucial first to build this community that will drive another community that belong to the company. That's for sure. The second thing that is important is how to use technology to have an inclusive organization, or also an inclusive environment. And I think it's driven by AI, actually driven by different technologies. Metaverse have been said also, but still 3 main things: the governance on those technology, the access, and how we pilot this technology. I went to Silicon Valley in August for a discovery expedition, and it was all about metaverse. And a lot of product or metaverse virtual fitness, for example, are done by men for men. So all the pilots also have been done by men. And that's really critical. We need to step in to be a part of the future, or an inclusive future. And we need also to monitor this. Investors are also men, so mostly I think it's changing, but we have a lot of improvement to do. And there are many companies that are using the metaverse, the AI, specifically also the healthcare where our client are, and all the pilots that have been done are not done for women. And that's really critical because it's impacting also the health of women, not just the inclusion in terms of position and career, but it's also the health part. And it's the future of our girls, the education, the orientation, etc. We need really to be aware and have the sense of urgency in terms of technology, not just using technology, but how the leaders will make sure that this technology is inclusive for men and women. And it's also driven by both of them in terms of investment, pilot, and also for other parts that are not just tackling the career and position and being in an executive level, but I have seen a lot of dramatical challenge in terms of healthcare. And if the women are impacted in their health, that will impact the children, that will impact the whole ecosystem. So that's something that I'm really, I trust it needs to be done. And in terms of leadership, we need coaching. We need also this huge network of inclusive leaders as role model to drive it. I think WIN is leading by example, not as a silo organization, but also having this United Nations global setup, etc. And this needs to be copied with pride in many companies and many organizations to be not just working on a silo basis, but also with different organizations and increasing this network and the impact of this network.
Thank you, Hajar, for mentioning also the dramatic, majority of men designing products with male investors, etc. So I want to hear from you in a little while more. How can we break through all of that? But I think it would be interesting now to hear from Delphine, because I know, Delphine, you have been designing products by women and for women. Perhaps could you share a little bit more for us how product design based on women's way of thinking and working and being, how please share your case on that story. I was so excited to hear when you told me up front. So
thank you, Kristin. Just to add on my profile, I just want to make it clear I don't have a tech background. I fell in tech by accident. I discovered the power of tech to make people's life easier, and that's why it's been so entertaining, and I'm still in there. And I also want to share that I'm really passionate about the evolution of the hybrid work and the technology transformation, which will more than ever help to create a more inclusive world. And I think it's a very important turning point. And I've been able to transform my organization not only from a sustainability, carbon neutral point of view, but also my group is 50% men and women. So I believe it's possible. And as we just said, it's the vision, leadership plays a big role in making this happen. But it needs to be pervasive in how we set it up across the organization as well. Just to give an example on product developed for women. So when I joined the group 4 years ago, the portfolio was mostly designed for men. There were a few women in the team, but it was like big keyboard, big mouse, black. When I arrived, we had just launched the MX Vertical, beautiful product. And I wanted to test it and try it, but I couldn't even touch the wheel. I have the smallest hand of the team. And so we had a roadmap meeting, and I tasked a little group to work on a product design for women. And to my surprise, the team came back and they had changed the title of the working group, and they wanted to make it as designed for young audience, but they didn't want to be gender specific. We had an amazing entertaining chats, and part of also creating an inclusive world is to let people speak up, listen, engage, share opinions. But obviously these two facts between the product that was too big that I had tried and this interesting reaction from the team, and there were men and women in the team who changed that, the title of the little working group, gave me the opportunity to say, you know what, we are going to develop a vertical mouse for women and for women only. I'll spare you the journey and the learning that the team went through, but what was very important was a design approach with a very clear target audience and keep the team focused on that target audience almost towards 80% of the product development. We created a small diverse team, and it was really good because men and women could really start like understanding their own biases. Women have some, men have some, but they were, I had to keep them very focused on testing products at the beginning with women. We learned a lot about anatomy, the fact that there is like difference, a huge difference in comfort and well-being based on your sizes. We opened an ergo lab. We learned a lot. We created a scientific lab that taught us a lot. We worked with ergonomic experts. And only at the end, we started opening up the product and testing it with more, with men and different type of target audience. At the end, we launched what we call the MX Vertical Lift. I don't know if you can see it with, but it's been a very, I don't know if you can see, there is the blur background, it doesn't take it. Yes. But it's been a very successful product, which actually not only please a lot of women who have carpal tunnel and have like pain in the shoulders, it's actually really, really comfortable. It helps them to be feeling better at the end of the day, but a lot of men loves it. And what was really important is to keep the team focused on the audience, make them learn, speak up about their biases, and also look at the journey end to end, all the way to what influencers we were going to take to launch the product, which channel, which social forums we were going to launch the product. It's been an amazing journey. They also taught us a lot. And from that, we changed processes. I reorganized also how I set up product teams and innovation teams. And it's been, again, a trigger to a lot of transformation in my group, but it's one example of a product designed for women by a diverse team, and we've learned a ton.
This is very exciting to hear, like that you decided for women with a diverse team. And you mentioned to me before also that there was something about when you reached the expectation of the women, you exceeded that of the men, and this is also very exciting and a good reason for everybody to listen to that. And you said also you changed a lot of the processes as a consequence of this experiment. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that? Like what came about? How did you change everything? And also, what were certain obstacles? I mean, were everybody excited about this new thing, or were there critics around them?
So it's all good questions. So in terms of you know, you focus on an audience, you go very far into it and you learn, and then you start expanding. For example, for us, we also realized that ambidextrous mouse can only fit right-handed people. So we actually launched with Lift our first vertical mouse for left-handed. So we opened up even further our market. There was no Logitech left-handed mouse before. So it really gave us like more opportunities than we started from. When I say we changed processes, it's because we realized that we needed to do more tests, more validation with women at the beginning, and really keep it to women until a very long time. Then we opened up to men, and that's also realized that we had a even bigger opportunity, but the product was already very well designed. We created this Ergo Lab. We created a community of ergonomists that was giving us some advice. We did some ergo validation. So we entered a complete different world. At the same time, it changed also how we worked. The R&D team worked with the marketing commercial team, because we had to prepare right up front with them on what does it mean to launch a product for women? So we took them in our processes very early, not just like we've developed the product, now figure out how to market it at all. It was a complete cross-functional team from day one, small team, but thinking about that one audience every day from the beginning to the end. So it created, and since then I've created more small audience targeted team. And so that's kind of the question on the processes. Were there resistance along the way? Yes, of course. The temptation is always to open up and please even more people and try to add features and, you know, just like, and actually the women we were designing for, they wanted something simple, easy to use. You turn it on, it already connects to your computer and you can focus on what you do.
Yeah.
Bells and whistles is always the danger. You want to add a bit more,
Yeah.
but let's focus on what is more important. And that simplicity and that natural design also kind of broke the barrier of an ergo product, because sometimes people who have pain or carpal tunnel, they don't want all their colleagues to know about it, but very often some of the products feels very medical. So we created a very lifestyle type of ergonomic products, and that also helps significantly on the adoption.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. It's an awesome story. And this brings me also to Mirna, who is working on talent acquisition and who has been redesigning an architecture for the new Iveco group. Mirna, please share what you are doing to create an organization with more purpose, meaning, and inclusion, of course. The word is yours.
Thank you. And it's great to hear from Hajar and Delphine.
Yeah.
I think the topics of leadership and participating in the design and starting with that mindset are very important, and they were essential in what we are doing. We are a group, I don't know if all of you know about it, there's a lot of Iveco group colleagues in this call. We are a 150-year-old startup. So when we were spun off in the beginning of this year, we had 34,000 people, more than 6 brands managed internationally. And we have 26 plants all over the world. So it's quite a large organization. It has a very strong heritage. When we had the spin-off, we decided it was a great opportunity to build our purpose and values. And the way we have done it was a little bit different from how other organizations do it. We started bottom up. We really asked every single person in the organization, what do they think that should be and what are the values that they live to? Some via workshops, some via survey, some, but in a discussion format, not just click yes or no on this. So we really listened. We then created the purpose and values that included everybody in the organization. And we rolled it out in a way that also includes everybody. We believe the core thing, the core value that we need for a sustainable organization from a people perspective is engagement and inclusion. We believe that is the core that we need to work on. Of course, we have the targets of gender and the targets, some action plans that we need to deliver and some representation requirements. We comply with all that, but in order for us to sustain it and to bring people into an organization that actually includes them, we need to create the culture from within. We need to create the mindset from within, and it needs to be ours. And that's how we started doing this thing. Now we are at a space after we rolled out all of these activities of creating processes that sustain that. For example, we are looking at how we evaluate performance in the organization, what leadership behaviors are, how do we assess those competencies and grow them in the pipeline of the organization. And more importantly, we're just about to launch an employee value proposition that goes internally and externally to show who we are. So realistic enough, but ambitious enough as well on where we want to go. How does this relate to what we're talking about? Diversity is great, and we have a lot of trends and dynamics that are happening in the markets around us. And of course, we need to keep the network and so on. But we start with small steps. And we start by doing something. And the examples that we heard there are very inspirational in terms of starting to do something. We are never going to solve world hunger, but we need to do something and start moving there. And the more we know about what we are missing, the more we still have to go. So we don't know what we don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. We don't know what we don't know, but it's also and this is very interesting, because when we set out and doing things in new ways, we bring in maybe more women that traditionally was there, or you bring in some men when there were only women, or you think in a different way, or you put health professionals with the IT guys and IT women, and you start thinking in new ways. We don't know what we don't know yet, and the outcome, we also need to allow for the new to happen. And this is very, very, very wise what you're saying, Mirna, because I think so often we get stuck in the old way of doing things. And just like Einstein said, he said that his famous sentence, we need a new consciousness in order to solve the new problems that are emerging and the new challenges. So, and I think that's, and that is not easy. So that's why it's so important that we come together and share this news and share this information so we can learn the new things. And Hajar mentioned something very interesting. You were in Silicon Valley and you were a bit shocked also, I think, from all these developments and the lack of women. And the work is not easy, Hajar, when you are there and there are not so many women, and how to go about and how to change. And you're seeing the dramatic consequences if all the programming is done by men, or if the men are conscious. I mean, we have many men on this call here today, and if we are aware of our biases, both as women and as men, of course, it's already very helpful. But algorithms on social media, a lot, we need to wake up to a more conscious, to gender bias world. And what do you do on a daily basis, and what is your company doing now to accelerate with these same tools inclusion? Please elaborate a little bit.
So there's many things to do, but I think the point of start doing, it's really important. And moving from initiative to action is something that we need absolutely to tackle. And starting with small things, not just, and doing it in streams. Means, for example, for the leadership stream, which is crucial for us, we start in the onboarding with unconscious biases program training, which is really important for every leader to attend. And there is a before and in and after. It's not a sprint or something that is done one shot, but there is a before, after, and in the training. And after the training, there is always an ongoing discussion with the transformation team and so on and so forth, tackling also with data and analytic, how the leaders assess the performance of women, men, people, multicultural, not Swiss, and so on and so forth, and giving them feedback, because they're, being conscious of the unconscious is really also important. So that's for the stream leadership. We do also some networking, mentorship, because we are talking men and women, but we need to be sponsored also by men. It's crucial, specifically in the IT field, where investors are men, where tech leaders and executives are men, where creators and startup and venture capitalists are men. So you need to have a sponsor to drive you and to give you also this space. The other side is, for me, how we use also technology for the hiring, talent, recruitment, all those things. It's crucial. So, for example, what we did is to the metrics is really important. We have the data analytic, but we need the insight from data analytic to be able to improve those data. And what we have to, figured out is that when we put the job description in bullet points, the women don't apply because it's kicking the bucket. This I can, this I can't, and this and so we removed all the bullet points. And then having the insight of the data analytic, we have an increase of 25% of application. And that's something that is really also small things, but driving more application into the company. The retention part is also important. The discussion and the communication we are driving with our employees is important. It's not just a process that we need to lead, but also it's leading by listening process.
Yeah. It's very interesting what you're saying, Hajar, and it goes back to one of the things that were said by Fiona earlier. How do we teach maths? And
Absolutely.
how do we now also do the job descriptions? How do we do the application for the job? Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of the changes needs to happen in the how things are done, not the content itself.
Yeah, and that's my point is all about the culture of the company.
Yeah.
And this is crucial because if you don't have they said, yeah, culture, it's strategy for breakfast. And I would say it's strategy for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. If you don't have the right culture in your company, then you need to start there. And that's crucial because otherwise you cannot scale, you cannot elevate, and you cannot create a community that belongs to this inclusion, right? And that's something that is really crucial, and that's what we are driving because we all talk, product. We all have the same product in different field and industries and vertical. We talk about transformation, but the core of the transformation and the driver of the transformation is the intangible asset we have, is the people that differentiate us, the culture that differentiate us vis-a-vis competitors, vis-a-vis business, vis-a-vis everything. So we need really to start there.
And Hajar, how would an ideal organization look like to you and feel like and be like, just in one sentence, if it was really inclusive?
An organization who knows where to play, how to win, and their spirit of playing to win, but as a community.
Yeah.
Because when we are a community, we belong to something, we belong to the same value, we belong to the same purpose. It's driven by purpose and impact and different outcome than just KPIs and so on. And we manage our talent, we manage our community, and we retain them because they belong. It's different. It actually is the word cup for football. You're a fan of a football team. If they lose, if they win, you're a fan because you belong to them. Yeah. And this is something that we need to create in every organization, that they can have also this tolerance for women, tolerance for different person, tolerance for gender, for, not just the gender part, but they can, have more tolerance on this.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much, Hajar. Delphine, I want to hear a little bit more from you on how do you create even more purpose so that we can create this sort of belonging type organization? And what is your experience on doing that? Because I know that's also one of your passions, creating purpose and meaning and environments where we all thrive.
Thank you. Well, for Logitech, if I take an example of Logitech, we want to unleash people's potential to live their passion and create work in the digital world. And the mission of the company is set in the sense that we want to help all people and be good for the planet. So at that level, it already means when we say all people, it doesn't mean one size fits all. It means that we need to be clear that everybody has different needs. So we need to develop with this design-centric approach. We need to understand all the different audiences, develop empathy, insights, and obviously it has the same impact on all the work we do on sustainability. But then for us, it's on this mission, it's not just a statement to look good on marketing our website. It translates in terms of, goals we have. So we set really specific goals, but to set goals, you need to also develop tools to measure your performance and how you're progressing, and then incentivize everybody to improve towards, you know, new goals every year to reach the bigger ambition of the next 3 or 5 years. But you have to transform at so many levels. So I completely agree that the leadership needs to also develop a culture of speaking up, listening, sponsoring, mentorship. So obviously we lead by example. So if we don't do it ourselves, it's hard to then ask our managers to do it. And it's really important that we also follow, I mean, it becomes a diversity and inclusion becomes a very pervasive approach, meaning it's a system. You need to look at every touch point. So from this mission, you develop different goals from your sales out, who you want to reach out in the market, to how you do your recruitment, to your processes, to how you, we have survey, for example, at Logitech every 6 months to learn more about the happiness of the team members, and obviously inclusion and diversity. Do you feel like belonging, included is part of it? And you obviously have to train people, because there are unbiases everywhere, but you also have to train how to recruit, not just on the job description. It's like when an engineer is hiring for not architect, engineer, for example, he's likely to see 8 men and only 2 women. So it's just like, how do you help them to realize of their own biases even when they recruit? And for us, I'll give you an example of what has been done recently. Is parenthood is now offered to, so maternity leave is also now paternity leave for anybody who has a baby in their family, which, you know, I'll give you an example, but I've heard in the past some men saying, oh, I'm not sure, you know, she just got married, you know, if she gets pregnant, it's like, it doesn't matter. And now you have all the engineers that are allowed to take paternity leave. So it puts everybody on the same level. And I'm obviously a strong believer that technology is helping this inclusive environment. I'm in the center of like personal workspace setup. So we work with enterprise to help them understand how to set up meeting room equipment, desk equipment, and not again in a one size fits all. Is understanding that you need different sizes, different equipment, and nobody wants to waste time in figuring out how to turn on the video conference system or calling IT. So it has to come from the leadership committed, but you have to gradually cascade it down to everyone. And I believe you have a turning point. It's hard to go from 15% in ratio of women to 35. It's hard work. Everybody needs to work. Needs to come more top down to enforce it. But I can tell you, once you get to 38%, you get to 48 or 50% much faster. There is actually because everybody, it becomes like a snowball. Everybody sees the benefit of it.
Thank you, Delphine. Can I just ask you, very quick answer, what would the ideal organization feel like and look like to you? Just one sentence.
It's an organization where nobody feels awkward to be in a meeting room. And if you had a group of men being in a meeting with only one woman, they will feel awkward because they will feel like it's not normal.
Oh, okay, good. Thank you for sharing that. I want to hear a few more words from Mirna also, which is, Mirna, I wanted to know a little bit more how to, you're the architect of this new, share some of the obstacles you've had and then ideal organization also for you,
Yes, so we are an automotive company, traditionally and in all the market, also our competitors, it's a male-dominated industry. And it has been there for such a long time and things are working. So why change if things are working? So you get things like, you don't know how we do it in this organization. You don't understand what we are trying to change. And then some, just normal business priorities competing with everything that we are doing. So the way we prioritize this. And some of the elements were like, okay, you are right. You know, you cannot enforce a massive change on our organization, but you can do it one step at a time.
Yeah.
And so we started small. We did have strong leadership sponsoring. You know, the CEO, the CHRO, and our whole leadership team was sponsoring this. We branded the initiative called Voice, which is the anagram for Iveco. We started with an engagement survey. So our communication people, our HR people, our sustainability people all work together to kind of introduce the activities in the organization. And we ensured action. So we had the survey. We wanted to respond to people. What are you talking about? What did you complain about, or what are you worried about? Here is our action to solve it, at very small team levels, not at an organizational level. So people feel included.
And this is really amazing also how you branded it and took it extremely, extremely like seriously from that perspective also. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, ideally, what we are trying to head towards is a place where everybody feels recognized and valued.
Yeah.
Therefore, engaged. Engaged people will deliver highest business results, will be inclusive, will be attractive as a team to work in by all newcomers.
This is really nice. I can't help but feel that when you're saying this, all of you, in how the ideal organization is, you know, a place where you don't feel awkward, a place you feel included, where you're respected and so on. I can't help to think also that that will be a magnetic organization, you know. And as we talk sometimes also here at BIM, we talk a lot about there is the yin and the yang, the attraction and the pushing. And sometimes it's so much push, push, push out there in the world. But what if you're such an exciting organization that the clients and the employees, everybody is going to flock to you? That would be the ideal, right? So I want to thank you, for your input, and we're going to go into our small groups again. But it was really wonderful to hear all your insights and actually hands-on experience that you have gone through and how you are change makers right now, right here. And I really honor that and applaud you for all your work. I know it's not always easy.